everyone, welcome to the session. Today we are going to talk about reporting, a lesson from research and documentation. A report is a methodical, well-organized document that defines and analyzes a certain issue or a problem. They are important tools that help us to understand how a system functions, a technology impacts, a machine performs, and they provide with critical information to make decisions. A research report is the one that is often used in the sciences, engineering, and psychology. At its core, a report is simply a representation of the data. Research report presents the result of formal investigations into the properties, behavior, structure, and principles of material and conceptual entities. Almost any physical phenomena or concept may be investigated in research framework. The following are some of the key differences between formal research and other less structured kinds of inquiry. Reporting may refer to any activity that leads to reports. Research reports vary greatly in length and type. In each individual case, both the length and the form are largely dictated by the problems at hand. For instance, business firms prefer reports in the letter form, just 1 or 2 pages in length. Banks, insurance organizations, and financial institutions are generally fond of the short balance sheet type of tabulation for their annual reports to their customers and shareholders. Mathematicians prefer to write the results of their investigations in the form of algebraic notations. Chemists report their results in symbols and formulae. Students of literature usually write long reports presenting the critical analysis of some writer or period or the like, with a liberal use of quotations from the works of the author under discussion. In the field of education and psychology, the favorite form is a report on the results of experimentation accompanied by the detailed statistical tabulations. Clinical psychologists and social pathologists frequently find it necessary to make use of the case history form. News items in the daily papers are also forms of report writing. They represent first-hand on the scene account of the events described or compilations of interviews with persons who were on the scene. In such reports, the first paragraph usually contains the important information in detail, and succeeding paragraphs contained material which is progressively less and less important. Book reviews, which analyze the content of the book and report on the author's intentions, his success or failure in achieving his aims, his language, his style, scholarship, bias, or his point of view. Such reviews also happen to be a kind of short report. The reports prepared by governmental bureaus, special commissions, and similar other organizations are generally very comprehensive reports on the issues involved. Such reports are usually considered as important research products. Similarly, PhD theses and dissertations are also a form of report writing, usually completed by students in academic institutions. The above narration throws light on the fact that the results of a research investigation can be presented in a number of ways. For example, a technical report, a popular report, an article, a monograph, or at times even in the form of oral presentation. What method of presentation to be used in a particular study depends on the circumstances under which the study arose and the nature of the results. A technical report is used whenever a full written report of the study is required, whether for record keeping or for public dissemination. A popular report is used if the research results have policy implications. Reports are written for different reasons. As an accountability for taking funds to conduct some activity or an event for any organization. When a project monitored, the improvements or constraints are to be reported. When a program is evaluated, the results are to be documented, written and reported to the concerned authorities. When some action is taken against some disaster, atrocity or some court orders, the results are to be submitted. To share the lessons learned with others. It is any informational work made with an intention to relay information of recounting certain events in presentable manner. Reports often conveyed in writing and speech form, telefilm, etc. Report is an administrative necessity. Most official form of information or work are completed via report. Reports can be classified as formal and informal reports. First is formal report. Formal report is a collection and interpretation of data and information. It is complex and used at an official level. It is often written account of major project. Examples of subject matter include new technologies, the advisability of launching a new project line, result of a study or experiment, an annual report or a year-old review of developments in the field. Formal reports can be categorized as informational reports, analytical reports, recommendation reports. Informational reports. Informational reports present results so readers can understand a particular problem or situation. For example, manager of a city's website might prepare an informational report for the city council. The report would provide statistics on the number of people who paid their city water and sewage bills online, etc. Informational reports might present information on the status of current research or of a project. Present an update of the operation in your division. Explain how your organization or division does something. Present the results of a questionnaire or research. Next is analytical reports. Analytical reports present results, analyze those results and draw conclusions based on those results. These reports attempt to describe why or how something happened and then to explain what it means. Explain what caused a problem or situation. Present the results of a traffic study showing accidents at an intersection. The report explains what it means. Explain the potential results of a particular course of action. Suggest which option, action or procedure is best. Recommendation reports. Recommendation reports usually present the results and conclusions that support the recommendations. This type is identical to analytical report. For example, your analytical report suggests using treatment X is more efficient than treatments Y and Z. However, that does not mean that you will use treatment X as cost and other considerations might recommend treatment Y. What should we do about a problem? Should we or can we do something? Should we change the method or technology we use to do something? Next is technical report. In the technical report, the main emphasis is on the methods employed, assumptions made in the course of the study, the detailed presentation of the findings including their limitations and supporting data. A general outline of a technical report can be as follows. Summary of results, a brief review of the main findings just in 2 or 3 pages. Nature of the study, description of the general objectives of study, formulation of the problem in operational terms, the working hypothesis, the type of analysis and data required, etc. Methods employed. Specific methods used in the study and their limitations. For instance, in sampling studies, we should give details of sample design vis-a-vis sample size, sample selection, etc. Data. Discussion of data collected, their sources, characteristics and limitations. If secondary data are used, their suitability to the problem at hand be fully assessed. In case of a survey, the manner in which data were collected should be fully described. Analysis of data and presentation of findings. The analysis of data and presentation of the findings of the study with supporting data in the form of tables and charts be fully narrated. This, in fact, happens to be the main body of the report, usually extended over several chapters. Conclusions. A detailed summary of the findings and the policy implications drawn from the results be explained. Bibliography. Bibliography of various sources consulted be prepared and attached. Technical appendices. Appendices be given for all technical matters relating to questionnaire, mathematical derivations, elaboration on particular technique of analysis and the like ones. Index. Index must be prepared and be given invariably in the report at the end. Popular report. The popular report is one which gives emphasis on simplicity and attractiveness. The simplification should be sought through clear writing, minimization of technical, particularly mathematical, details and liberal use of charts and diagrams. Attractive layout along with large print, many subheadings, even an occasional cartoon now and then is another characteristic feature of the popular report. Besides, in such a report, emphasis is given on practical aspects and policy implications. We give below a general outline of a popular report. The findings and their implications. Emphasis in the report is given on the findings of most practical interest and on the implications of these findings. Recommendations for action. Recommendations for action on the basis of the findings of the study is made in this section of the report. Objective of the study. A general review of how the problem arises is presented along with the specific objectives of the project under study. Methods employed. A brief and non-technical description of the methods and techniques used, including a short review of the data on which the study is based, is given in this part of the report. Results. This section constitutes the main body of the report, wherein the results of the study are presented in a clear and non-technical terms with liberal use of all sorts of illustrations such as charts, diagrams and the like ones. Technical appendices. More detailed information on methods used, forms, etc. is presented in the form of appendices. But the appendices are often not detailed if the report is entirely meant for general public. The informal report functions to inform, analyze and recommend. It usually takes the form of a memo, letter or a very short international document like a monthly financial report, monthly activities report, research and development report, etc. This report differs from the formal report in length and formality. It is written according to organization style and rules. The informal report is usually more controversial in tone and typically deals with everyday problems and issues addressed to a narrow readership inside the organization. Progress report. An assessment that takes place during a project or process that conveys details such as what sub-goals have been accomplished, what resources have been expended, what problems have been encountered, and whether the project or process is expected to be completed on time and within budget. Sales activity report. Sales activity report means salesperson provide certain details to the management about his or her activities and performance over a given period. It includes information such as number of customer visits made, demonstrations performed, and new accounts opened. Personnel evaluation. Performance evaluation is a constructive process to acknowledge the performance of a non-probationary career employee. An employee's evaluation shall be sufficiently specific to inform and guide the employee in the performance of her or his duties. Financial report. Financial reporting involves the disclosure of financial information to management and the public about how the company is performing over a specific period of time. Financial reports are usually issued on a quarterly and annual basis. Financial reports are included in a public company's annual report. Feasibility report. Feasibility report is the result of a detailed examination of a proposed idea, project or business to determine if it is likely to be successful. It is used in business, banking, manufacturing, science and other areas. Some financial institutions require one as part of the loan process. Literature report. A literature review is an evaluative report of information found in the literature related to your selected area of study. The review should describe, summarize, evaluate and clarify this literature. Credit report. A credit report is a detailed report of an individual's credit history. Credit bureaus collect information and create credit reports based on that information, and lenders use the reports along with other details to determine loan applicants' credit worthiness. Reports are written for different purposes. They therefore contain different information and structures, including headings and subheadings, and these form the outline of the report. While writing report, always one has to keep in mind that there is no universally accepted format in report writing. One should follow the format set by the organization or course. Informal report. An informal report usually consists of introduction, discussion, recommendations and reference. Introduction. Mention the general problem first so that the readers can understand the context. Then, state the specific question or task arising from the problem that you will be dealing with. Finally, explain the purpose of the essay and its expected results. In a short report, this part does not need to be long. 2 or 3 sentences will be sufficient. Discussion. Present your findings clearly and briefly in an appropriate method. Use lists, tables, charts, etc. with adequate explanations. Present your results in descending order of importance. This way, the most important information will be read first. This will be the longest part of your report since this contains the major information. Conclusions and recommendations. The conclusion of a report, depending on its intention, should remind the reader what actions need to be taken. Recommendation section might not be needed unless it is requested. It depends on the company's or organization's policy. Formal report. The purpose of a formal report is collecting and interpreting data and reporting information. The formal report is complex and long and may even be produced in bound book volumes. A formal report generally consists of title page, executive summary, introduction, method, results, discussion, conclusion, recommendations, appendices and bibliography. Title page. Title page should contain the title of the report, name of the author, name of the course or company and date. Executive summary. Executive summary is the summary of the whole report in a logical order. This should highlight the purpose, research methods, findings, conclusions, and recommendations. An executive summary should be written in the past tense and should not be longer than 1 page. Though this section is included in the first part of the report, it is easier to write this part after completing the rest of the report. Introduction. The introduction should contain the main problem, its importance, and the goals of the research. The background and context of the report are also included in this part. Method or methodology. This is the section where you explain the methods used in your research. If it is a scientific research, you can describe the experimental procedures. Results or findings. This section presents the results or findings of your project or research. You can also present data using visual methods such as tables, graphs, etc. However, do not interpret the findings here. Discussion. In this section, you can explain what the above results mean. You can also analyze, interpret and evaluate data, note trends and compare results with theory. Generally, this is referred to as the most important part of the report. Conclusions. This is a brief summary of findings. Conclusion should not be confused with results or findings section, as the conclusion is a simplification of the problem that can reasonably be deduced from the findings. Recommendations. In recommendation section, suitable changes, solution should be provided. Appendices. This contains attachments relevant to the report, for example, surveys, questionnaires, etc. Bibliography. This is the list of all references cited. Follow-up. The act or an instance of following up as to further and end or review new developments. One that follows so as to further and end or increase effectiveness. An article or a report giving further information on a previously reported item of news. Intended to follow up as to reinforce or evaluate previous section. Example, follow-up report, Environmental Assessment Office. A follow-up report to a 2011 audit of the EAO's oversight of certified projects contains the EAO's self-assessed progress and our progress audit on the 6 recommendations made in the original report. This report was discussed by the Legislative Assembly's Select Standing Committee on Public Accounts on June 3, 2015. Feedback. Feedback can be given in a number of ways and does not need to be limited to formal written comments on formally presented reports. For example, in case of group work that may take place over an entire semester or year, groups can give regular presentations on their progress or provide mini progress reports. Short in-class presentations can be used for assessment and have the added bonus of providing instant feedback on the number of areas such as oral communication skills, conceptual understanding of an issue or topic, ability to read and to respond critically to set literature or literature they have researched, ability to sustain an argument, group skills through the level of grouped contribution and creativity towards the assessment task. Students benefit the most when the feedback is constructive, which means in addition to noting the strengths and weaknesses of the work in the assessment task, it provides reinforcement, guidance and useful information on how the student could improve the quality of their work. Focus is on improvement. Avoid broad sweeping comments that give little guidance or knowledge of their performance. Timely, such that it is assessed while still fresh in the student's mind and ideally before the student moves on to the next task. Feedback is useless if it comes after the semester has finished or too far away from the submission date. Remember that sometimes students wait for feedback before proceeding on to their next tasks. It also gives confidence to proceed. Meaningful. So they may enhance their performance for subsequent work. The feedback should also be specific and relevant to the task, the outcomes and the student. Focused on the most important aspects that will give most learning benefit. Provide both positive and negative instructional advice. It should build on past learning, understandings or abilities and encourage further development. Should also be linked to outcomes and formative and summative assessments. Justifiable and defendable. So should allow ownership of the comments or judgments within the context of the learning environment. It should be fair, consistent and unbiased. Respectful, kindly and considerate. Feedback should be provided that shows an awareness of students' strengths and weaknesses, concerns, needs and personality. Feedback that matches these points encourages students to think critically and reflect upon their work and potentially how they can improve it. It should also provide support and encouragement. Within the group context, it can promote positive discussions between group members on the achievement of learning outcomes. Generally, positive and open feedback enhances the learning process through discussion between you and your students. Giving feedback. Start with a positive comment. Provide comments on specific weaknesses in the work. Offer guidance on how to correct or improve the weaknesses. Comment upon and reinforce new or creative ideas. Conclude with an encouraging summary. If necessary, provide both written and oral feedback. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am, I have a question. What type of report should we use when it comes to a fire accident in a factory?
Good question. It comes under technical report. In the technical report, the main emphasis is on the methods employed, assumptions made in the course of the study, the detailed presentation of the findings including their limitations and supporting data. Any more questions? This is all about reporting from research and documentation. Thank you.